There have been a bunch of liberal posts that go around from time to time that basically say that we're targeting systems of oppression and not the people per se. And particularly they say, we're targeting the system of racism, not European and white people, or that we're targeting patriarchy and not men. And to an extent, that's true, but I feel like it's incomplete, and I feel like it's dismissive of how people operate and sustain systems of oppression. And I have always said when I see these posts that if we are actually dismantling a system of oppression like systemic racism or patriarchy, we are going to meet up with those people in particular at some point in the game. All right. So I've been reading this book called At the Dark End of the Street, Black Women, Rape, and Resistance, A New History of the Civil Rights Movement from Rosa Parks to the Rise of Black Power. And this is a very powerful book. I've learned quite a lot about Rosa Parks from, I think, just the first 10 pages, and what importance and what power she was holding within the civil rights movement at the time, and how we've really done a disservice, if you will, to her legacy by some of the ways that we have couched the civil rights movement and actually taken a lot of the power away from women within that movement, by the system of patriarchy as it lives in the world right now, but also from Black women in the system of racism. So one of the things that this book really starts to illuminate is how women were central in creating the force behind, the power behind the Montgomery bus boycott. And so, if we want to go back to that, again, that liberal kind of stance about, we're just going after the systems, we're not going after people. Well, let me tell you, one of the reasons why these women were so empowered to fight the buses, the system of how, they were not only physically abused and assaulted, but also sexually abused and assaulted on these buses by white men and by the cops, the white male cops, who would be called by these bus drivers when these women stood up, or, if you will, stayed seated and claimed their body autonomy, claimed their humanity, claimed their womanity in these situations. I am telling you that these white men were clearly operators of this system. And this book lays out very clearly why, okay, we may be fighting the system of racism or patriarchy, but we are definitely going to have to engage the people who operate that system. And if we are not ready to deal with people who operate that system, and the people who operate that system aren't ready to deal with the folks whom they oppress through their systemic complicity, we are not on the right track, okay? We are not actually looking at how to dismantle these systems if we're not dealing with the system itself and also the people that run it. So not only does this book, but other historical situations also bring light to this fact that, again, we cannot be pulled in by this, again, what I would say is a lack of accountability and a desire to dismiss the role of actual people with faces and names and locations that actually run these systems, that need to be held accountable, that need to be held up into the light of day, and also that need to engage their own sense of radical compassion and move forward into anti-oppression, into anti-patriarchy, into anti-racism, to be better humans, to let go of and help to dismantle these systems of oppression so that people can come into a greater sense and reality of liberation and freedom and harmony and peace, like I think we are all trying to do. And if we are not, we're going to have to deal with each other on that, okay? Let's talk about this. These are important conversations for us to have. And again, getting back to these posts, we can't let ourselves be pulled into this dismissive and confusing context that somehow we're not dealing with people when we deal with systems of oppression. Let's talk.